Today we will talk about the remaining part of animal organization. We talked about the symmetry, coelom and epithelial tissue under this. Then the remaining aspects of animal organization we shall talk about at length. The most important concepts here now I shall put before you, which are likely to appear in EAMCET, APMT, JIPMER, then AIMS, so on and so forth. Now we'll start with the connective tissue. The connective tissue here now is divided into connective tissue proper, supportive connective tissue, fluid connective tissue, muscular tissue, and the nerve tissue. So these are the types of connective tissues here now. Now under supportive connective tissue, blood, bone and cartilage are placed. Under fluid connective tissue, blood and lymph are placed. Now this connective tissue proper, it is derivative of mesoderm. Supportive connective tissue also originates from mesoderm. Fluid connective tissue also originates from mesoderm. Muscular tissue, most of the tissue is from mesoderm. Nerve tissue originates from ectoderm. Nerve tissue originates from ectoderm. That is the origin of the tissue here. Now the connective tissue proper here now, it consists of cells and matrix. Matrix consists of fibers and ground substance. Fibers and ground substance. The ground substance is made up of water, polysaccharides, proteins, okay, etc. Inorganic and organic compounds here. Water, polysaccharides, proteins, the other compounds like inorganic, organic compounds. They are there under ground tissue. Then the fibers. Fibers and ground substance put together form matrix. Cells and matrix constitute connective tissue here now. Now the connective tissue proper, on the basis of nature of matrix here now, it is divided into two types: embryonic connective tissue, mature connective tissue. Embryonic connective tissue, mature connective tissue. Embryonic connective tissue is in turn divided into mesenchyme and mucous connective tissue. The mature connective tissue is divided into loose or areolar connective tissue and dense connective tissue. Loose or areolar connective tissue and dense connective tissue. Now, the embryonic connective tissue. The connective tissue present in the embryonic stage and in the fetal stage can be considered as the embryonic connective tissue. Right from fertilization to 3rd month of pregnancy can be considered as embryo. Right from fertilization to the 3rd month of pregnancy, it can be considered as embryo. Then 4th month to till birth can be considered as fetus. Okay, so the connective tissue present in the embryo and the fetus is called embryonic connective tissue here now. Embryo is right from fertilization to the 3rd month. Fetus is from 4th month to till paturation, that is till 9th month is the fetus here now. So the embryonic connective tissue is present in both of them, embryo and the fetus. Now, embryonic connective tissue, as I said, is divided into two types, mesenchyme and mucous connective tissue. Now, the mesenchyme is the precursor of all other connective tissues. If you get a question in the EAMCET or any other exam, from which tissue do all the other connective tissues arise, you should say mesenchyme. So, it is the precursor of all the other connective tissues, The mesenchyme has got mesenchymal cells which are the modified fibroblasts. Then it has a semi-fluid like matrix. It has got mesenchymal cells and semi-fluid like matrix, And as I made a mention, it is the tissue that gives rise to various other tissues in the adult stage, Then the mucous connective tissue it has got reticular fibers. It has got reticular fibers and branched fibroblasts. Reticular fibers and branched fibroblasts are present. Then apart from this, the matrix is jelly-like matrix is present here. Jelly-like matrix is present in the mucous connective tissue here. It has got reticular fibers, then fibroblasts, highly modified branched fibroblasts are present. Apart from that, jelly-like matrix is present. Now, what are the examples for mucous connective tissue as far as EAMCET is concerned, or APEAMCET or any other exam? Examples are important for the mucous connective tissue. The most important examples for mucous connective tissue, the Wharton's jelly present in the umbilical cord. Wharton's jelly of umbilical cord is a kind of mucous connective tissue. Then the vitreous humor present in the eyeball is also mucous connective tissue. The vitreous humor that lies in the vitreous chamber behind the lens of the eyeball, it is also made up of mucous connective tissue. Then the comb and wattle of poultry birds. Comb and wattle of poultry birds. Also examples for mucous connective tissue here. So remember, Wharton jelly present in the umbilical cord, vitreous humor of the eyeball, comb and wattle of poultry birds are the examples for mucous connective tissue here. Now, areolar connective tissue is also called loose connective tissue because it has got a large amount of matrix, large amount of fluid-like matrix with cells and fibers. The areolar connective tissue lies below the skin here now. It helps in binding the various organs together. It acts as a stroma or the intercellular network for various organs. Suppose you get a question in the EAMCET or any other exam, which one acts as a framework or stroma for various visceral organs, should answer the areolar connective tissue. Okay, the areolar connective tissue, it has got cells, matrix and fibers. The cells of areolar connective tissue, A, mast cells. Mast cells are the modified basophils. They are the modified basophils. As long as they are within the blood, you call them basophils. Sometimes at the time of inflammation, the basophils come out of blood vessels, enter tissues and thereby transform themselves into mast cells, They synthesize various physiological mediators like histamine. It acts as a vasodilator. Number 2, bradykinin. Bradykinin also acts as peripheral vasodilator. Number 3, C, heparin. Heparin acts as intravascular anticoagulant. Next is serotonin. It acts as vasoconstrictor. Apart from this, it secretes some more physiological media. The most important are 4 of them here now: histamine, heparin, bradykinin and serotonin. Among these, histamine and bradykinin both are vasodilators. Heparin is an intravascular anticoagulant. Serotonin is a vasoconstrictor. All of them are obtained from mast cells at the time of inflammation here. The second type of cells present in the irregular connective tissue are the fibroblasts here now. The fibroblasts are the raw undifferentiated cells. They differentiate to form fibrocytes. The fibrocytes in turn give rise to 3 kinds of fibers: collagen fibers, elastin fibers and reticular fibers. Then immature fibrocytes can be called fibroblasts here now. So remember, the main function of fibrocytes is to form collagen fibers, elastin fibers and reticular fibers. The next you have macrophages. The macrophages are the modified monocytes. There are different types of macrophages again. The fixed macrophages are called histiocytes. If they are stationary, confined to a particular organ, they can be called histiocytes. If they move from place to place in search of foreign particles, you can call them wandering macrophages. So they are the modified monocytes. Then apart from this, you have adipocytes. Adipocytes are the largest cells of connective tissue. They store fats. Then next you have plasma cells. Plasma cells synthesize antibodies. Plasma cells synthesize antibodies. Then next they are pigment cells. Pigment cells are also present in the irregular tissue here. So mast cells, fibroblasts, macrophages, adipocytes, plasma cells and pigment cells are the most important cells of irregular tissue here. The fibers, there are 2 types of fibers in the irregular tissue. Altogether 3 are there. There are collagen fibers, elastin fibers and reticular fibers. The most important are collagen and elastin fibers. Collagen fibers are also called white fibers. White fibers because they are made up of a protein called collagen. And elastin fibers are called yellow fibers because they are made up of a protein called elastin. Then collagen fibers are inelastic and unbranched, whereas these are elastic and branched. Elastic and branched. Then collagen fibers always occur in the form of bundles. They are single. Okay, elastin fibers are single here now. Collagen fibers are mostly responsible for the formation of tendons. Elastin fibers are responsible for the formation of ligaments. Responsible for the formation of ligaments. Okay. And remember, if you get a question in the EAMCET or any other competitive exam, which protein is responsible for senescence in the human body or old age in the human body, you should answer collagen fibers, because collagen fibers help in fastening the skin tightly to the muscles. It keeps all the muscles together. It also helps in fastening the muscles to the bones here now. Then collagen is a heat labile protein. It is a heat labile protein. On exposure to heat over a period of time, it gets converted into gelatin. Whereas elastin is a heat stable protein. Elastin is a heat stable protein. As the collagen is heat labile, as a person grows old, exposed to various hostile environmental conditions now, the collagen gets converted into gelatin. As a result, the skin becomes wrinkled and the muscles become flabby. Because of loss of functioning of collagen fibers and tendons, the muscles become flabby and the skin becomes wrinkled, which are considered as the sign of old age. So you get a question, any competitive exam here now, which protein is responsible for old age in human being? You should say collagen fibers or collagen protein. So they are the major fibers. Apart from this, reticular fibers are also present in some tissues. The beaded, branched, modified collagen fibers are called reticular fibers. Now you are talking about the loose connective tissue. Loose connective tissue is divided into areolar connective tissue, then it is divided into adipose connective tissue, then it is divided into vesicular connective tissue, then it is divided into reticular connective tissue. So these are the types of loose connective tissues, Okay, areolar connective tissue, we have done it at length just now. The next is reticular connective tissue, next is adipose tissue, the next one is vesicular connective. All these come under loose connective tissue, where the cells are loosely arranged. There is a large amount of matrix and the cells are also more in number. And because of large amount of matrix, fluid like matrix, cells are scattered in the loose connective tissue. Then next, moving on to the reticular connective tissue. In the reticular connective tissue, reticular cells are present. This consists of reticular cells, which are the modified fibroblasts. Then it has got reticular fibers. It is made up of reticular fibers. This tissue forms a framework. It forms the framework for hemopoietic organs, and lymphoid organs. Hemopoietic organs like liver, then spleen, then red bone marrow, okay, they all are made up of reticular connective tissue. Lymphoid organs like lymph nodes, lymph glands, thymus, they are also made up of reticular connective tissue. Apart from this, reticular connective tissue is also present in lamina propria of gut wall. Lamina propria of gut wall is also made up of reticular connective tissue. Now, the adipose connective tissue, it is of two types now. White adipose tissue and brown adipose tissue. White adipose tissue is present in adults, whereas this is present in infants. Now. In white adipose tissue, it is multilocular. Now, white adipose tissue, why it is referred to as multilocular? Suppose you take, these are the adipocytes now. It is referred to as monolocular. Why it is referred to as monolocular? I will just make a mention here now. These are all adipocytes now. The adipocytes are modified fibroblasts. Each adipocyte has a large vacuole at the center. That vacuole is deposited with unsaturated fatty acids. The vacuole is deposited with different kinds of unsaturated fatty acids. Okay, and there is a cytoplasm. Since there is a vacuole at the center, nucleus and cytoplasm of the adipocyte are pushed to the periphery. So since there is a single locule in each adipocyte, it is called monolocular. Now in this, it is metabolically it is inactive. Okay, metabolically inactive because the mitochondria are with cristae. The mitochondria in this particular tissue are with cristae. So the mitochondria, whenever there is a combustion of fatty acids, the mitochondria, they trap the heat and they convert the heat into ATP. So the main function of the white adipose tissue is generation of ATP molecules. In exigency, when the body does not get sufficient amount of ATP from glucose, the body relies upon the adipose tissue for the generation of ATP. So it provides ATP to the human body because all the mitochondria are with cristae. All the mitochondria are with cristae. Okay. Whereas in case of brown adipose tissue, the adipocytes, the nucleus of adipocyte is the center, and there are several large vacuoles like this. There are several large vacuoles, and cytoplasm is evenly distributed. So in adipocytes now, cytoplasm is evenly distributed, nucleus is at the center, and there are several large vacuoles. That's why you refer to as multilocular. Multilocular. And here the mitochondria do not have cristae. So whenever the fatty acids are burnt heat is directly liberated into the body. So the main function of brown adipose tissue is to provide heat to the body, whereas the main function of white adipose tissue is to provide ATP to the body. Apart from this, white adipose tissue also acts as shock absorber for the various visceral organs. It is there around eyes, it is present around kidneys, it lies below the skin, okay, it lies in the hip region. So by and large it acts as shock absorber in human body, whereas brown adipose tissue is mainly concerned with thermoregulation. It is present in infants, and in whales also it forms blubber and thereby helps in regulating the body temperature. Okay. Whether we differentiate between two types of adipose tissue, that is white adipose tissue and brown adipose tissue. White adipose tissue is referred to as metabolically inactive tissue, whereas brown adipose tissue is referred to as metabolically active tissue. It is brownish in color because of rich blood supply. Because of numerous blood vessels now, it is slightly brownish in color. Vesicular connective tissue is another type of loose connective tissue here now. This vesicular connective tissue has vacuolated cells. It has got vacuolated cells and reduced matrix. Reduced amount of matrix and vacuolated cells are present. The vesicular connective tissue is present in the notochord. The only organ which is made up of vesicular connective tissue is notochord. At the center of the notochord, when you take cross section, you find vesicular connective tissue surrounded by inner dense thick connective tissue sheath and outer thin elastic sheath. So all these are types of loose connective tissues. So under loose connective tissue, I have learnt about number 1 areolar tissue, number 2 vesicular tissue, number 3 reticular tissue, number 4 adipose tissue. So all of them come under loose connective tissue. That is, the mature connective tissue is divided into loose connective tissue and dense connective tissue. Loose connective tissue is divided into areolar tissue, mucous connective areolar tissue, then adipose connective tissue, then reticular connective tissue, and the vesicular connective tissue. We shall talk about dense connective tissue. Okay, one of the mature connective tissues is the dense connective tissue. In dense connective tissue, matrix is highly reduced here now, and all the cells are compactly arranged. It has got a few cells here now, and all the cells are compactly arranged because of reduced amount of matrix, and fibers are abundantly present here now. Now the dense connective tissue is again divided into regular dense connective tissue, irregular dense connective tissue, and elastic dense connective tissue here. So it is divided into 3 types: regular dense connective tissue, irregular dense connective tissue, and elastic dense connective tissue. In regular connective tissue, all the collagen fibers are arranged in the form of bundle parallel to each other like this. All the collagen fibers are arranged in the form of a bundle parallel to each other. That's why we call it regular connective tissue. This regular connective tissue can withstand the pressure exerted from both sides, either from anterior side or posterior side. Whenever is pressure exerted, it will be able to withstand the pressure here. Whereas irregular connective tissue, the collagen fibers are haphazard here. The collagen fibers are haphazard so that they can withstand the pressure exerted from different directions. Regular connective tissue is mostly in the form of tendons and ligaments. It is mostly in the form of tendons and ligaments. As I made a mention earlier, tendons help in connecting skin to the muscles and muscle to the bones, whereas ligaments help in joining the bones together. Then study of tendons and ligaments is called syndesmology. Remember again APMT, MSET, AFMC and all that, it is important here now. The study of tendons and ligaments is called syndesmology. The study of tendons and ligaments is called syndesmology, Then irregular connective tissue, as I made a mention earlier, the collagen fibers are irregularly arranged. They are haphazard, so that they can withstand pressure exerted from different directions. Irregular connective tissue is present in A. Periosteum of bone, B. Perichondrium of cartilage, C. Pericardium of heart, D. Heart valves, E. Synovial capsule, F. Tunica albuginea, of testis and ovary, G. Dermis of skin, H. Sclerotic coat of eyeball. Sclerotic coat of eyeball. All of them are made up of irregular dense connective tissue. I shall repeat once again. Periosteum of bone, perichondrium of cartilage, pericardium of heart, heart valves, synovial capsule, tunica albuginea of testis and ovary, dermis of skin and sclerotic coat of eyeball. All of them are made up of dense irregular connective tissue. Is made up of large number of elastin fibers which have the ability to recoil themselves after being stretched here now. Elastic connective tissue is present in arteries, vocal cords, bronchi and bronchioles, and elastic ligaments. Elastic ligaments which help in connecting the vertebrae together, they are all made up of elastic connective tissue. Arteries, vocal cords, bronchi and bronchioles and elastic ligaments are made up of elastic dense connective tissue. So, they are all types of dense connective tissue. So, the mature connective tissue is divided into loose connective tissue and dense connective tissue. So, you have learnt about types of loose connective tissue and types of dense connective tissue. Now, we will talk about now supportive connective tissue. As I gave you the classification of supportive connective tissue earlier, it is divided into two types, the cartilage and bone. So, first we will start with the cartilage here now. Cartilage is also called gristle. Cartilage is also called gristle. It is a derivative of mesoderm. The embryonic connective tissue called mesenchyme differentiates to form cartilage in adults here now. Then the cartilage, its matrix content is called chondrin. It has got two types of fibers, collagen fibers and elastin fibers. Collagen fibers and elastin fibers. Then the cells of cartilage are perichondroblasts, chondroblasts and chondrocytes. Chondroblasts and chondrocytes. Now, cartilage is non-vascular. It is a vascular tissue, a vascular connective tissue without any blood vessels. But however, it derives nourishment from a dense connective tissue sheath called perichondrium. Perichondrium is the dense connective tissue sheath made up of mesenchymal cells, then collagen and elastin fibers, blood vessels, nerve fibers. It supplies nourishment to the cartilage by diffusion process. The perichondroblasts of perichondrium are the modified mesenchymal cells. The perichondroblasts in turn transform into chondroblasts. The chondroblasts synthesize chondrin. Once the chondrin is fully formed, the chondroblasts differentiate to form chondrocytes. The chondrocytes get enclosed in lacunae. So, the inactive perichondroblasts can be called chondrocytes, or inactive chondroblasts can be called chondrocytes. Now, the growth of the cartilage occurs by two methods, growth of the cartilage occurs by two methods. It is by either by apposition method or it is by interstitial method. Apposition method and interstitial method. Apposition method, if the cartilage is derived from chondroblasts, perichondroblasts transform into chondroblasts, chondroblasts transform into chondrocytes, chondrocytes synthesize chondrin here now. Whether if it is obtained from chondroblasts here now, we call that method apposition method. And interstitial method, whenever there is damage of the cartilage or erosion of the cartilage here now, the inactive chondrocytes once again become chondroblasts and thereby synthesize the cartilage. So if the cartilage is obtained by reactivation of chondrocytes, it is called interstitial growth, and if it is obtained from chondroblast directly, it is called apposition method here. Like that the cartilage growth takes place. Now on the basis of the nature of chondrin and the fibers present in the chondrin, cartilage is divided into three types. You have first one here now, hyaline cartilage. Hyaline cartilage has slightly bluish tinge here now. Here the collagen fibers are present in the chondrin, but they are extremely thin and their refractive index is similar to that of chondrin. That's why they remain invisible in the chondrin. Hence it is called hyaline cartilage here now. The weakest among all three cartilages is hyaline cartilage. Now hyaline cartilage is present in most of the body parts, like entire embryonic endoskeleton. Entire embryonic endoskeleton is made up of hyaline cartilage. In the fetal stage, most of the cartilages in human body are hyaline cartilage. Then epiphyseal cartilage, epiphyseal plates of bone. Epiphyseal plate, the tips of the bones are covered by hyaline cartilage, where you call it here now epiphyseal cartilage here now. Okay, epiphyseal cartilage, epiphyseal plates are present at the junction of epiphysis and metaphysis. You'll be learning later on here now. So that epiphyseal plates are made up of hyaline cartilage. The next one is articular cartilage. Articular, that is tips of the bones. Extremities of the bones or tips of the bones are covered by hyaline cartilage, which is referred to as articular cartilage. The next is costal cartilages. Costal cartilages. Ribs here now are attached to the sternum by costal cartilage here now. Ribs arise from vertebral column and they are attached to the sternum here now. So the part of the rib that is attached to the sternum is called costal cartilage. It is also made up of hyaline cartilage. Now in these three regions here now, perichondrium is absent. Hyaline cartilage is by and large with perichondrium, but only these three regions here now, perichondrium is absent here. Apart from this, tracheal and bronchial rings, cartilage of larynx, tip of the nose and nasal septum, tip of the nose and nasal septum are also made up of hyaline cartilages. Cartilages of the larynx, thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, arytenoid cartilage, even they are also made up of hyaline cartilages. Then apart from this, now the endoskeleton of chondrichthyes. Endoskeleton of cartilage fish or chondrichthyes is also made up of hyaline cartilage. So all these regions you find hyaline cartilage in the human body, which is supposed to be the weakest cartilage among three. Next one is elastic cartilage. It is slightly yellowish in color due to presence of elastin fibers. It is mostly pliable. At the same time, it can regain its normal shape after being distorted. Elastic cartilage, the chondrin is deposited with elastin fibers, large number of elastin fibers and a few collagen fibers. Elastic cartilage is present in epiglottis, eustachian tube, and ear pinna. So remember, E cube are the examples for elastic cartilage. Then the third one is fibrous cartilage. Fibrous cartilage is the most strongest cartilage among all. Here the perichondrium is absent. Perichondrium is absent in this. Then apart from this, it is made up of numerous collagen fibers. The matrix is deposited with densely arranged collagen fibers. Fibrous cartilage is present in pubic symphysis, of pelvic girdle and intervertebral discs. Intervertebral discs are also made up of fibrous cartilage. Another type of supportive connective tissue is the bone here now. Now first we shall talk about the classification of bones here now. Bones on the basis of mode of formation they are divided into number 1 cartilage bone or replacing bone or endochondral bone. Cartilage bone or replacing bone or endochondral bone. Here the bone arises from pre-existing cartilage, that is embryonic connective tissue mesenchyme gives rise to cartilage. The cartilage gets ossified to form a bone. Cartilage gets ossified to form a bone. Like that, if a bone develops from pre-existing cartilage, it is called cartilage bone or replacing bone or endochondral bone. Most of the bones in human endoskeleton are endochondral bones. Then you have next membrane bone or investing bone or dermal bone. Here the embryonic connective tissue mesenchyme directly gets ossified to form a bone here now. The embryonic connective tissue mesenchyme gets ossified to form bone. Such bones are called dermal bones here now. A few bones in human endoskeleton like bones of the cranium and the clavicle bones are examples for dermal bones here now. Sesamoid bone. If a bone develops from a tendon, it is called sesamoid bone. So here the tendon is ossified to form a bone. Such bones are called sesamoid bones. Example, you have patella or kneecap, then pisiform bone of the wrist. Patella or kneecap and pisiform bone of the wrist are the best example for sesamoid bones. The next you have visceral bones. Visceral bones, certain connective tissues get deposited with calcium salts to form a bone here now. Such bones are called visceral bones. Under this, you have os penis. In certain carnivores and rodents here now, in certain carnivores and rodents, the penis is ossified here now. Such penis is called ossified penis here now. Okay, os penis, that is an example for this. Then os rostralis. Os rostralis, the snout part in certain mammals now is again modified connective tissue, ossified connective tissue here now. Okay, os rostralis you call it here now. Like in pigs here now, the rostrum part is an ossified part of connective tissue. So os rostralis you call it. Then next you have os cordis. In ruminants here now, within the heart there are certain connective tissue fibers which are ossified, which are called os cordis here now. So the heart of ruminants here now you find os cordis, Os rostralis is present in the pigs, then os penis is present in rodents and carnivores. So such ossified connective tissues are called visceral bones, So they all come under the types of bones under mode of formation,